So naturally, like the rest of the world, we're sharing in the grief and sorrow about this tragedy that has taken place in New Zealand. And what has gotten my attention in the last few days is the way their Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, is handling this. It's just absolutely magnificent. She is the youngest leader in the world. She was elected at age 37 in the year 2017. So this year, right now she's only 38. She'll be 39 in July. And the way she's handling this is such an inspiration. So I thought I'd share from 3 different articles that I've read in the last couple of days. She's gotten the world's attention, and I hope the attention of the people who really can make some decisions in other countries. So this first section is from an e-news outlet in England, and it's written by Saja Mulhal. And this person writes, when Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern appeared behind a podium to deliver a statement a few hours after the attack, it wasn't just New Zealand who listened to what she had to say. Jacinda made a strong emotional speech about the Christchurch terrorist, notably opening with the Islamic greeting, Assalamu alaikum. She went on to say, he's a terrorist, he's a criminal, he's an extremist, but he will, when I speak, be nameless. And I implore you to do the same, and instead speak the names of those who are lost, rather than the name of the man who took them. He may have sought notoriety, but we in New Zealand will give him nothing, not even his name. She spoke about him in exact terms, rightfully named him a terrorist, and promised never to use his name. No other world leaders, including, in this case, the UK Prime Minister, because the author of this is writing from the UK, have reacted in this way to an Islamophobic attack. Jacinda's stance is incredibly tough, yet deeply compassionate. She has shown the Muslim community what true care is, and at a time when we are the most vulnerable. So the author is also Muslim. So now you can take the camera over. Her words have made an impact, but her actions have spoken even louder. After the attack, she visited the Muslim community at the Al-Nur Mosque in Christchurch wearing a hijab in an act of solidarity and a show of respect. She was seen to embrace individuals while they grieved. It was a raw, powerful, and emotional thing to witness, especially as a Muslim myself. She gave people the unifying cry, they are us. It seems that this is just a simple act of humanity, but it has served to show this community that they are a valued and essential part of society. Again, how many world leaders have actually done that in a way that is clearly genuine and empathic after a terrorist attack? Jacinda has combined the show of empathy with promises of concrete legislative and cultural change. And this is the part that is so amazing. A few hours after the attack, she announced a clampdown on the country's lax gun laws. Within 10 days, she said, these laws will come into place. And I promise that we will weed out racism both in New Zealand and globally. So her picture isn't just the confines of this little country of less than 5 million people. She sees the big picture. So her cabinet agreed to overhaul the law when it met on Monday, 72 hours after this horrific act of terrorism. Now we are announcing a ban on all military-style semi-automatics and assault rifles in New Zealand, she said. Every semi-automatic weapon used in the terrorist attack on Friday will be banned in this country. She also announced that the sale of high-capacity magazines and items like bump stocks, which manipulate recoil to allow semi-automatics to fire more like automatics, they will also be made illegal. The measure will be implemented immediately. For the assault rifles and the semi-automatic weapons that are already in circulation, the Prime Minister announced a gun buyback program that resembles the one that Australia already has in place that they started in 1996. So yesterday in the New York Times, Nicholas Kristof wrote this startling contrast to what's going on in New Zealand. He says, here, the most remarkable fact about guns in America is this. Since 1970, the U.S. has suffered more gun deaths, 1.45 million, including gun murders, suicides, and accidents, than occurred in all the wars in American history. Yet, Congress and the President do nothing. Since 1970. After the horrifying massacre of 50 people in New Zealand, the cabinet there has already approved in principle an overhaul of gun laws in that country, with details being worked out now. And then he says this, meanwhile, in the United States, what? So he goes on to say that while there are no perfect solutions, tightening access to guns does help. Connecticut strengthened gun laws, and gun homicides fell there by 40%. Missouri eased gun laws, and gun homicides there rose 25%. So he says, experts tell me that if we took reasonable steps to regulate guns, we could plausibly cut gun deaths by 1/3, or 13,000 deaths each year. So he says, my writing today is a call for politicians to stop just offering thoughts and prayers, and to start acting. In addition to taking the lead on bold gun laws, this is why I think she's my new hero, she issued a global call to fight white nationalism in the aftermath of last week's terrorist attack, which seems to have been motivated by Islamophobic ideas and rhetoric. Addressing other world leaders in an interview this week, Ardern said, white nationalism must be confronted where it exists, and nations must make sure that they never create an environment where it can flourish. If we want to make sure globally that we are safe and tolerant and inclusive, we cannot think about this in terms of boundaries. So people watching her proceed through this very difficult task, the most difficult task of her whole prime ministership, people are absolutely stunned and impressed and saying things like this. Ardern has molded a different consensus, demonstrating action, care, and unity. Terrorism sees difference and wants to annihilate it. Ardern sees difference and wants to respect it, embrace it, and connect with it. So this praise just doesn't come from people making commentaries in newspapers. Mohammed Faisal from Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that Ms. Ardern has won the hearts of Pakistanis, while the King Center, a memorial to Martin Luther King in the US, tweeted, "There's a leader with love on full display." So I would pass around the mic right now, but it might not be too respectful to ask you this question. Donald Trump contacted her and asked her what the US could do for New Zealand. Her response, I think she's a closet Buddhist. Her response was to Donald Trump, sympathy and love for all Muslim communities. Can you believe it? Can you imagine if he started saying that? Let's reach out to our Muslim brothers and sisters. So that's what she said to him. This is her skill. This is her understanding of how a leader leads. So she's also promised, I don't know, I don't really understand United States politics. But this is what she's done to help the people, the families in New Zealand. I don't remember reading this in this country. She's promised to affect all the affected families with funeral costs. She says provision exists regardless of the immigration status of those who have lost their lives, and regardless of the immigration status of their loved ones. It includes the cost of burial. It includes support for lost income, and that can last not just for months, but it can last for years. So I give you that assurance. To hear a world leader make such a statement is quite remarkable, especially in this day and age, where Islamophobia and anti-immigration sentiment is dangerously rising. So it's my hope that more world leaders will embrace her way of leadership. There was one headline today, she's following no one. She's leading. She's 37 years old. Sorry, she's 38 years old this year. It's just astounding. Someone wrote this: if more world leaders were to embrace her way of leadership, I guarantee you that this will help diffuse any community tensions that there may be after such a horrific act of terror. She has shown strength and acted fast to bring about real change and not leave the Muslim community feeling alienated and marginalized. Her unique mixture of practicality, strength, and empathy has made a real and tangible impact. Although the effects of this act of terror will be deep and long-lasting, especially for those families who have lost loved ones and the individuals that have been traumatized by this act of violence, her course of action has made a positive difference in such a dark time. So we can rejoice in the qualities that Jacinda is bringing to leading a country, and hopefully everyone notices her deep respect for all people, the skillful means and the way she's responding verbally to the situation, her outstanding integrity and consideration for others, her equanimous orientation to all, her fortitude, and her warm-hearted compassion. May we all find inspiration from her example. Okay, I thought I was going to make it. We've got to raise our level of engagement. We've got to make noise in the ears of people who are elected, even those of us who aren't US citizens yet. We've got to make noise, but we've got to make noise in the way that she's doing it, with respect and compassion for everyone involved. She's taken the lead on how to change gun laws and prohibit assault weapons. Now she's showing us how to be inclusive, showing all people how to be inclusive towards people on the planet and to reassure those who are currently being targeted as our dear ones who are in need of our respect. Oh, darn! Our protection and our love.